Welcome back, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and re-record because I want to make sure I get all the new questions that have come in. So we're going to try to take it from the top. So without further ado, let's go ahead, hop right into it. First thing I need to do is give my shout outs. Big shout out to everybody who subscribed to the channel. Really glad to have you. Hope these videos are helping with any decisions you have being made. Second shout out goes to CJ. Thank you so much for helping me do the first breakdown of this car. Made things a lot quicker, a lot simpler so we could get to the business. Huge shout out to Justin Francis. He works at a custom shop. He's part of the Dallas Infinity Enthusiast group. And honestly, the man was able to figure out the instructions that were originally in Chinese. And anybody who can help you do that, that guy's a genius. So if you need anything, you're in the area, typically he can give you a bit of a hand with that, or at least the information, because he has a passion for it. He doesn't just take things apart, he teaches you how. And thanks to him showing me how to fix it, you know, once I got everything taken care of and got it reinstalled, it was super easy because I already knew what to do. But let's jump right into these questions now. So Cole asks, biggest question, do you consider this an upgrade? Answer, absolutely. I feel like this gives you all the features that Intouch was missing. They advertised Intouch would be, but it didn't turn out to be. So definitely I consider this an upgrade. My favorite feature is going to be the Navi button. I wanted navigation. I didn't get it because I didn't like Infinity's Intouch navigation. So on this, you can actually program the Navi button to whatever app you prefer. Just give it a quick press there. It takes a little bit to pull up, but once you pull up your Navi, it goes to whatever app. I chose Google Maps. I use Google Maps. If you like Waze, you can use Waze. I'm just not very good or experienced with it, so I don't. Head back to Facebook so we can answer some more questions here. Anything you wish you could do, it does not. That would be voice control. It does not do voice control. You lose that functionality. You can maintain it if you choose to go with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, so that you can use your voice there, but I don't use them enough to warrant that, and really voice control isn't a deal breaker for me, so I chose to go without. Mark asks, is it worse than $700? Absolutely. I mean, if you've got it and you're sick of Intouch, honestly, this is the way to go. It gives you an individual look over some of the other systems that may exist. You know, some of them use the bottom screen, which is better resolution, but they have older Android. Some use the top screen, better versions of Android, less resolution. This gives you the resolution, a better version of Android, and honestly, I just prefer the look better. You're not going to see a whole lot of Q50s with that in them. CJ giving a quick shout out for all of the work you helped with. Thank you again. Christopher, sorry, I don't want to butcher the name. Christopher asked, does this retain steering wheel control and knob button functionality? For your steering wheel controls, you still get to keep your volume. This will still work for calls. Your up and down still goes to the next previous track, no big deal. We know all these are for this little screen. That doesn't change at all. Yes, I know I'm low on gas, but I don't get paid by YouTube, so I'll fill up gas when I'm ready. How responsive is the touch screen? To me, very responsive. I mean, I touch, I move, it goes, it does. So no problem there. Is there internet via phone, either Bluetooth or wired? I use my phone. If you have a MiFi hotspot, you can use that however you prefer, but it does tether. So it does have Wi-Fi, it does have Bluetooth, no issues there. Is Infinity connection or remote start affected? I don't have remote start, so I can't really speak to that. I will ask around to be sure and put it in the follow-up, but I can't say for certain on that. Is it giving off more or less or any EMF signal? What? How long did it take to install? The first install took a while because again, I was working with Justin and he had to really translate what these instructions were meaning from the Chinese that they were in. But after that, once I knew where everything went, thanks to Justin showing me as he went along and using his know-how to figure it out, it takes maybe an hour. I mean, an hour may be stretching it. Also, the hour portion of it is just making sure that all your cables are routed the right way. But it's super simple. Nick's gonna go rewatch some Chappelle. Good idea, Nick. I may do the same thing once I get out of here. Can you reset your oil change reminders? Yes, you can. You would do that through the control app, which I'm gonna go over in a bit. But the control app should have all of your same bottom screen controls, so that shouldn't be an issue. You can definitely reset them just like you normally would. Sound comes through aux. Quality degraded, asked by Kareem. I don't find that to be true. And this is just personally, this is how I view things, but I get better sound through auxiliary than I would through like Bluetooth or anything there. So that's just me in particular, but I like it. I don't know. I feel like the sound quality is actually even better. Good questions. You're right, Justin. Those are definitely good questions. It's dope. It is. Do you lose stock functionality such as climate control, audio, Intouch settings? No, you don't, actually. Your climate control is down here. You can still control it through the buttons on the side, so that's not an issue. Or you can use this to hop on up, and you get the little climate control app to where you can control everything. I just turned it on by accident. But yeah, you get all your climate control features there. I'm going to go ahead and shut that off because I don't really need it right now. Dallas is pretty temperate. What version of Android is it? And James is right. If you're reading that question on, James is right. It says it's 6.0.1, but I believe that's just over 4.4.4. Not really a huge issue. It still runs any apps from Lollipop, so that's not an issue I've run into as far as like getting apps or anything. But it does say 6.0.1, but it seems like it's just over a 4.4.4. Giovanni, I'm sure you're not the only one who's not a fan. I mean, honestly, it's not for everybody. Some people love Intouch. I'm just not one of them. And that's perfectly okay. I know we talked about that with them in there. Wes did ask the question about XM, nav, climate modes, drive. Same thing as most other people are asking. Yeah, you still got your drive modes here. So that's no problem. If you have default nav and you prefer it, that's the one feature you probably won't have. But again, I prefer the other type of nav. My Google Maps is what treats me better. XM radio, you still have your radio function, so there's no difference there. Where are the buttons for heated seats? They're going to be... No, there he goes. James already answered that. On the touchscreen, climate page. No big deal there. CarPlay, Apple Play. There is a separate module that you can get for for Android Auto and Apple Play. I'm going to be honest, I didn't get the Android Auto because I feel like this has all those features and that the voice control wasn't enough of a feature for me to warrant spending that extra money to get it. However, if you are an Apple fan, it might be worth it for you because, of course, you know, you have the Apple, it's a whole different type of operating system, and you want to have that Apple CarPlay feel for it. So that might be worth it for you. Personally, it wasn't, but for you, definitely it might be something you want to check out. If somebody wants to send me an iPhone, then sure, I'll check it out for you, no problem. Rico was tripping watching the video. Yeah, I probably shouldn't have used the intro. It's kind of like an acid trip, so that's not a good idea. Will sonar still work? Is that when I get close to something, will cameras turn on? I have round view monitors. The way that that's typically going to work is if it is run through the OBD, it should still work the same way it would before. It shouldn't really be an issue at all. Now, when you're backing up, for instance, I'll show you the backup camera. For the backup camera, you do get this little thing here, which I assume would work with your sonar. I don't have sonar, so I can't say for certain. This right here, I'm going to go ahead and address is one of the issues I run into. If you see, I don't have my prediction lines. Not a major thing, but for as much money as you're paying, you want that. Well, to go ahead and review, I've seen other people with it. I'm going to go over why it happened in a little bit, but you will get your prediction lines. So don't take that as the experience. That's not the norm at all. Next asking is, how hard is it to determine where the plugs go since the installation instructions are in English? Good say. I messed up because I couldn't tell where the plugs went. Honestly, I'm going to be fixing that by doing an English installation guide, and I showed it in my installation guide of what plug that was. But aside from that, most all plugs only fit in one area, but I will be making an English version. Hopefully, I'll have it in the description below. If not, it'll be in the next review, the review follow-up video. That way, people don't run into the same issue that I ran into. You don't have that problem. I heard somewhere there's something funky happening with XM. There isn't. XM is actually, unless you change it to a funk channel, you're not really going to see much of a difference. XM still works just like normal. It's on the radio function. I'll show that in a bit. Looks like Justin may have answered that question too. If your car doesn't have a navigation system, do you need a GPS antenna? I believe you need the antenna anyways. It does come with an antenna. Darnell actually answered that. Personally, I dropped mine down to where you can't see it in here. So it runs all the way up the side, and you don't really have to do anything special with it. I just threw it in the glove box. I'm going to have to replace my unit, which I'll talk about later. So you can mount it if you want, honestly, but in the glove box is fine. I'll probably mount it myself just because I'm a nerd for cable management. Do you have a Tesla? I don't, G. But that hurts. That cuts real deep. Everybody knows I want one, so thanks for bringing up that old wound. Hey, Jude, what's up? Let's see. Is there any functions missing from the original Intouch? Is there lag or freezing? Does the display split with nav and audio on? Yes, all the functions from original Intouch come over. There's not really anything missing except for the voice command. That is the one thing that will be missing. And if you had navigation, the bezel here will no longer zoom in or out. It becomes a volume knob. That's about the only difference that you'll see between that. Does the display split? What'll happen there is nav will run like any navigation app on any tablet. It runs in the foreground when you have it up, or in the background, no big deal. Your audio will do the same. So if you're playing the radio in the background, it's still gonna last. It'll be playing in the background while your nav is up. Or if you put your nav in the background, it'll just kick in whenever there is a certain place a turn you need to make. If you don't have it on auxiliary, let's say you're listening to just your radio instead of listening to this, instead of coming through the auxiliary like it normally would, it'll come through the secondary speaker. That's where your navigation instructions will come through. As an owner of a Q50 Sport, I will say the Infinity Intouch system sucks. One of the worst multimedia systems out there. I have to agree with you, honestly. I'm not a huge fan of the Intouch system. That's why I even bothered with this. I just feel like Intouch was very ambitious and they didn't follow through. I won't get on a soapbox, I won't rant about that, but that's just my opinion. Damn, where can I get this? Good question, John. I gave John a reply with the link. The link will also be in the description box below, so feel free to check that out. Definitely appreciate any referral sales you can give me. The more we refer and the more that are bought under this link, kind of the stronger the community becomes, because it shows that we're actually putting the money behind this. So it's going to make the developers want to put out more updates and be more responsive and help us more, because they can see that we're doing business with them. So I do suggest to use that referral link if you're thinking about purchasing. If you're playing a video in widescreen format, will it letterbox to make it look like the original format, or will it zoom and crop the video? It will typically go into letterbox. Like I put in here, YouTube is usually letterbox, that's not a problem, but Netflix I found will zoom and crop, and that's kind of an issue for me. I feel like that's some settings that need to be adjusted, but I haven't really gone into that yet, so I'll include that in the follow-up if I can figure that out. So does it not navigate and play a movie at the same time? Like we talked about earlier, navigation will run in the background. It'll tell you, hey, you got a turn coming up here, but the movie will keep playing and you'll get consistent sound from the movie. No problem at all for there. Frank, honestly, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I'm not a huge YouTuber. I don't make a lot of videos, so that helped me kind of keep my motivation up to keep these things coming. I just want to make sure that if I suggest something to the community, I give you guys a full review, what I think, so that you're getting something that's going to be useful for you. I will give my full kind of opinion on it at the end of this. I really do hope you guys stay tuned, because I'm going to tell you whether I believe you should pull the trigger yet or not, and kind of just my opinion on it. So I hope you guys can stay tuned for that. Let's continue on. Gabe, can't wait for me to answer the questions. Hope you're looking at everything here, Gabe. Appreciate that. All right, Tim, what you got for me? Installation process. Any little difficult process while installing? The installation process, again, once you know what you're doing, it's super simple. I hope my instructors will help. I hope my video helped. Difficulty, I also mentioned this, but my only difficult part was the steering wheel controls, just because of my size of my fingers here. I had to route it up through the vent and drop it down so that it doesn't, of course, get in the way and get heated or anything. There's a little hole here that it came out of, and then it went into the steering wheel column. There's a great clip. It's super hard to take off for me, but if you have like a longer flathead screwdriver, it'll be super simple, so no big deal. Next, you have where you route your cables. Again, the GPS was simple. I should have done the USB the same way, but I didn't. Instead, I tried to route into that same hole where I did this at, and I had an idea of how cool it would be to put a little USB box down here, but it didn't turn out like the way I thought. So I would suggest dropping that through here and on this side, just like I did with the GPS. But I'll probably go through that in the review part too, so that's not really an issue. Any extra things you had to buy to finish the install other than the screening kit? No. Honestly, you just need the screwdriver that we talked about, those two types of heads on the screwdriver we talked about, and your hands. That's it. I would personally suggest, just after doing the installation, I would suggest if you have a magnetic tip screwdriver, use that so that you're not losing any of the screws, if they fall out or anything. Because if they fall back there, unless you want to take apart everything, that thing is lost forever. Derek asks, can the Airlift app be installed so you can control your bags of the unit? As long as it runs on Lollipop, yeah, absolutely it can. No big deal. If you don't see it on the App Store, you can typically get an APK for it. And if it has a Lollipop version, you usually have to go through and get that. So honestly, if somebody wants to send me an Airlift kit, I'll give you a detailed review, no problem. But that's just shameless pandering, so don't pay attention to me. Does the unit have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? Yes, it does. It has both. Also, for speaking back to the app question, I'm going to put out a tips and tricks video here pretty soon. That'll show some of the versions, and I'll also leave links to where I got some of the apps that you can't immediately get because they're on Lollipop. So anybody who doesn't know how to do that, I could definitely go into it for you. So who's the seller? The seller is Phoenix Android Radios. I highly suggest the seller, if you see another car on there that has a unit, because they sell it for several cars, definitely suggest it. A lot of the other units are further fleshed out than ours are just because they've been around longer. And the customer service is absolutely on point. I can't suggest them enough for their customer service. They're very responsive. They talk to you, so no issues there. Do I like it overall? Certainly. Absolutely. There's a couple bugs as with anything, but I love it. Chris asked, who's the seller? The seller is Phoenix Android Radios. Gotta say, absolutely love them. They've been really great with customer service. It's definitely on point. They do the Tesla screens for a lot of different vehicles, and I would definitely suggest them for the look as long as it's something that you like. But yeah, Phoenix Android Radios, they do a great job. There will also be a link again below for the product, and that'll take you to the site in case you want to look at it for any other vehicles. Do I like it overall? Absolutely. I think it's such a step up from the Intouch I had. That's just me personally, but that's what I think. I do not want to go back at all. Honestly, I would keep this system for life, and if I ever sell this vehicle for another Q, or if I get a Q60, great part is I can just take the unit out and put it in that, so there's no issues for me. Is it worthwhile? Absolutely. In my book, it gives you all the features you were missing with Intouch. Works super well. It's fast and responsive. I'll review that again in the follow-up just to make sure it stayed that way, but of course we'll go over that. It is Android. Like we talked about, 6.0.1. Looks like it's over a 4.4.4 though, so hasn't caused me any issues. Lollipop works perfect, but that's the kind of situation you're running into. Does not have a SIM card at all, so that's not a thing. Of course, it's not really an issue because you can connect your phone. So if you're looking to make phone calls, just do it through your phone, no big deal. Or you can do Wi-Fi calling, but I don't really think that's such a necessity. Is there more or less glare? Personally, I see less. I think the screen adjusts a lot faster on this one, so there's more fingerprints, but there are less of the less glare that you see, less situations where you're going to be squinting at the screen. Now, this will lead me to my overall opinions. On my overall opinions, I think this is an excellent system. I believe it's definitely something that if you have the money for it, if you aren't feeling Intouch, this is a great alternative. However, I will say at the current moment, I've run into a few bugs. And the bugs have they've been a little bit of an issue for me, but I'm going to go over that too. What happened for me in my situation? And I'm going to say my situation because there's a little bit of a caveat to it. I was one of the first to order this, I believe. With that, I got a bit of older hardware. I got a little overzealous. I updated the software like everybody else updated, but my hardware and the new software, since it was for newer hardware, wasn't compatible. This caused me a few issues. Now, Phoenix has taken care of me immediately. That's why there's going to be a part 2. Phoenix is going to send me another unit with the updated hardware that should get the software all good to go, and I shouldn't have any more issues. But, of course, it happened, and I want to make sure that there's a part 2 review. But if you're ordering through my link, or if you've ordered after me, you shouldn't really have these issues. There are a few people who have already ordered it since and gotten the install done. They just needed a software update. Their hardware was perfect because it was a newer version. So this shouldn't be an issue for anybody else, but it was for me. So I'll definitely do want to bring it up. The part where it bugged out, the prediction lines we've already seen, but where it really messes up for me is the control app. And the control app is typically going to show your bottom screen how it used to look. For me, I got nothing. Now it still works. It's just not showing up. And that's the issue between the hardware and the software. So I'll be getting a new one. Once that shows up, I'll be sure to show you. But typically, this is actually pretty cool when it is there because you've got all your other bottom screen settings. You don't have to worry about anything there. You've got the buttons. The hard buttons you used to have moved to touchscreen. I prefer this heated seating buttons. These heated seating buttons to the ones on the full AC console, just because they work a little better. They look a little better and they work a little better. It's a little bit smoother. But other than that, you got all your other buttons. You can switch to radio. Normally, your music, your audio section would pop up here, so you can switch between XM, Bluetooth, radio, AM, FM. That has no issue. The home menu brings you to all your settings you would normally have. So that's where you can reset your oil reminders, everything there. And climate, of course, is just a simpler climate display like you used to have on the bottom screen. So all that works, but these are the bugs that I experienced, and that's really the only major bug. But again, Android, when I contacted them about it, they got to the bottom of it. We looked at everything, and as soon as they got to the bottom of it, they said, hey, we get that this is happening. We're going to send you out a new unit with some new hardware. Make sure we get you all taken care of. And that's honest. You can't ask for more than that. Once that new unit comes in, I get it installed, everything working, I will do a follow-up video to make sure that that's all good to go. But that's my major concern. That was my major dislike. Everything else is really going to be a go for this unit. I enjoy it. I enjoy having the navigation. I love it. As far as my opinion, and you don't have to take this. There are other members of the group that if you're not a part of it yet, the Infinity Q50, Q60 group, there are certain other members that have it. They've had their own experience. My opinion is going to be to hold off on pulling the trigger just yet until I get the new one and can fully review it. I want to make sure all the software works for you guys. So that's why I want to do it, so that I can fix it and you don't have to go through that. However, if you want to go ahead and pull the trigger, definitely do it. If this steers you off of it, I hate to hear it, but I hope you subscribe to me so you can check out the secondary review when it comes out, the part 2, and hopefully that clears up any doubts you have. Because I really think this is a very promising product. It's an individual look that you don't get anywhere else from any other product. But of course, with anything that they're just releasing, just moving up to these kind of models, these Infinities, there's a few growing pains, and this just seems like one of them. I don't really mind too much because I still have my reverse camera, so the only thing I can't really do is switch to the radio. I don't listen to the radio anyways. I always listen to Bluetooth, so that hasn't been an issue. And to be honest, I can still switch to the radio if I wanted to. All I'd have to do is hit the radio button and the radio would play. But since I can't see to reselect my auxiliary, I'd rather just keep it on auxiliary and wait. So even if your screen is dark, your radio and stuff will still work. But again, I would rather make sure that nobody else is going to have that experience than to tell you to go ahead and purchase and hope for the best. So that's my opinion. That's how I view it. I definitely will be making the update. I'm going to try to get that English guideline out. It's going to have to be on my free time. Unfortunately, this isn't my full job. This is just something I like to do for fun. So I'm going to try to get all that out to you guys. And hopefully, you like it. If you have any feedback for me, any additional questions that I can answer in the second part of the review, just let me know. Definitely drop a comment, drop a like, subscribe if you feel like I was doing a good job. But I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a good time, and I hope this was helpful to everybody. I'll see you later.